on my Facebook page, which is the best way to contact me directly if you want to request a rant or do a collaboration, by the way. A fan messaged me and he wanted me to talk about furries. Since I did one on bronies a while back, and it being one of my more viewed rants, I'd be happy to give you my thoughts on the world of furry fandom. In short, I don't have anything against furries, but just like bronies, they're not my cup of tea. But hey, you call yourself Desert Coyote. Yeah, that's the name of the hockey club that I played for when I was growing up. Heck, I'm even wearing the jerseys now in Rants. This one was a practice jersey of mine. Not only that, that's always been my online nickname. Ever since the Desert Coyotes changed their name, I always identified myself as a coyote by heart. No, that doesn't make me a furry. That's like if you played for a team and they had a cool name like the Cobras, and then all of a sudden, without warning, the team has to change its name for whatever reason to something like the Lookouts. Wouldn't you rather still be called the cool name? But Coyote, your avatar features a furry-like coyote in a picture. It looks like a furry. Yeah, that was a piece of fan art somebody submitted for me, and I made it my avatar to show my appreciation. So no, I don't identify with the animal. I am not interested, nor do I take a liking in fictional anthropomorphic animal characters with human traits. That's basically the definition of a furry in a nutshell. With that said, I am going to address the popular and the not so popular perceptions about the furry fandom. Let's start by how this became a thing. And here is another big word for the day, kids. It is personification. Can you remember all that? Repeat after me. Personification. What is personification, you say? It is a literary tool in language arts that adds human qualities to animals, objects, or ideas. In other words, representing something as if it were human. In popular arts, we've been doing this in many mythologies and classic novels way before we started having funny cartoon characters like Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig, Mickey Mouse. They still do it to this day. SpongeBob would be a big popular example. We also have a lot of sports mascots that are represented by an animal. A lot of self-identified furries would say that as children they loved seeing these characters probably a lot more than most kids did. The term apparently started floating around in sci-fi conventions starting in the 1980s. A lot of them say that the fandom was inspired by works like Kimba the White Lion, also known as the piece of work that Lion King stole all their material from, the Richard Adams novel and the movie adaptation, Watership Down. Plus, then you have Disney's Robin Hood, which is regarded as among the classics. Now here's the thing. We all find these characters to be acceptable as part of our culture, but if someone decides to make up their own character and identify themselves as one, it's considered odd and weird? Why? How's that any different than the people who enjoy role-playing, or even LARPers, live action role players? How is that any different from playing a character you see on TV, movies, or even shows? Much like Trekkies and Star Wars geeks, the furry fandom pretty much just started out as a sect at a sci-fi convention, and they were simply a discussion group with similar interests and tastes who would show off their artwork to each other. Sounds pretty cool if you ask me. Now, thanks to the internet, in the 90s, the popularity was able to spread a lot faster, to the point where now they have their own conventions, where thousands would attend either to show off their art, cosplay as one, and ultimately go to a place where they feel accepted and not shamed for what they like. Hell, since I'm a big sci-fi nerd, Comic-Con is one of the few places I actually feel right at home, where I'm normally a shy guy in real life, but at a place like Comic-Con or a heavy metal concert, I can out-discuss you for days on what I'm interested in. I'm among similar people with similar interests. Wouldn't you like to do that? So what's wrong with furry conventions in that aspect, if they're really just places where they're more accepted and they're people with similar interests? How's it any different with me going to Comic-Con dressed up as Casey Jones, or eventually what I would really like to do would be Snake from Metal Gear Solid? So let's go over some popular perceptions about the furry fandom. If you would ask a furry what was more important to them, they would say visual art, conventions of course, literature, and online communities. A lot of them like to create plush toys. And there's of course the group that likes to create elaborate costumes based on their furry character they identify as. And they're often worn at conventions or masquerade parties, or pretty much anything associated with it. They can range from simple constructed costumes to elaborate ones with animatronics and prosthetics. And it has been said that about 80% of identified furries don't own a fursuit simply because they cost too much money to make. But what most of them like to do, however, is create what's called a fursona. They often gather at multi-user domain websites where they can either role-play in activities over the internet or even do role-playing games. So all of that is harmless. While they're not the same type of people, it's no different than bronies who attend conventions because they identify with the characters on My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, or people who attend otaku conventions because of their love for anime, or even any type of nerd. But you don't care about that. Oh, no. All you care about when it comes to the furry fandom is the sexual aspects and what people say about the sexual aspects of furry fandom. Yeah, man, furries commit bestiality, man. They're attracted to animals. Wrong! If there are those interested in zoophilia, it's a tiny percentage, not necessarily representing the entirety of the furry fandom. And I've been very, very clear in this rant that those in the furry fandom add human characteristics to their furry characters. If there's any attraction at all, it's to the human characteristics. It's to the human aspects. It's to the human personality, not the animal personality. In surveys, up to 30 to 40% say that sexual activity is an important part of the furry lifestyle, while the remaining 60 to 70% are either indifferent towards it or they say it's not part of their lifestyle. Oh, but a lot of them are gay. So what? Since when did being gay mean something negative towards a fandom? I'm not gay, but if most of my subscribers were, because I do defend gay rights, I'd welcome it. But some of them engage in furry cybersex. Hey, listen. What happens in the privacy of their own homes and their own worlds is their business. Not mine, not yours, not anyone else's. Everyone has their own sexual fetishes, their fantasies and desires. If two people are attracted to each other based on their fursonas, whether they're gay or straight, then power to them. But the pornography, okay, alright. Especially in the ones where they will add the human reproductive organs, if you know what I mean, to these furry characters. I even will admit that might be a little odd. But again, there's pretty much pornography in all categories. And as long as it isn't child porn, then whatever. The problem with the sexual aspects of the furry fandom comes from the media. Whenever there's a story or an article about a furry in magazines like Wired, Loaded, or Vanity Fair, or in television shows like ER, CSI, The Drew Carey Show, Entourage, and 1,000 Ways to Die, most furries themselves would say the portrayals on the media are misconceptions and they don't represent them at all. And lots of times, unfortunately, many of these portrayals, they just focus on the sexual aspect. And they make these people out to be sexual weirdos, when in reality they're not. And it doesn't really talk about what most of them like to do as part of their fandom, and about what's most important to their fandom. So no, furry conventions are not orgies with a bunch of weirdos wearing fox costumes. And people wonder why many furries themselves don't trust the media. They don't want to be portrayed as people with sexual obsessions, and they would much rather be noted for being people who are simply talking and drawing animals and comic book characters in sketchbooks. So before you judge someone based on their outward appearance or on what they are a fan of, It's important to learn about any fandom and do your research about it before you make any assumptions. I'm sure, unless you've had a bad experience with a furry, you'd usually see that they're still normal people who happen to be interested in anthropomorphic animal characters with human traits and characteristics and personalities. If you are a furry, or you know a furry, or you have opinions on them, whether good or bad, feel free to let your voice be heard. If you enjoyed this, be sure to like and subscribe and follow me on Facebook for more Coyote rants and videos. I'm Desert Coyote 22. Thanks for watching.